Captain Dai stood perfectly still at the viewport of the scout ship Horizon *. His dark eyes narrowed as he studied the distant object that had just appeared on their sensors. For 3 weeks, the Horizon * had traveled through this unmapped sector of space, documenting cosmic phenomena and charting new star systems. The mission had been routine until now. "I need confirmation on that structure," he said, his voice calm despite his racing thoughts. Lieutenant Kim nodded, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "Sensors confirm it's artificial, Captain. Definitely not natural." The main view screen adjusted as the Horizon * drew closer. What had been a small dot gradually took shape, a massive space station with elegant sweeping lines that curved gracefully against the backdrop of stars. Its design was unlike anything in the Federation database, yet something about it struck Dai as distinctly human. "Impossible," Navigator Park whispered from his station. He stood up, moving closer to the view screen. "According to all our records, no human expedition has ever reached this region. We're beyond the furthest mapped Federation territory." The bridge fell silent. Even the usual beeping of the control systems seemed muted as the crew stared at the mysterious station. Its hull gleamed under the light of a distant star, revealing intricate patterns that spoke of advanced engineering. "It looks human," Science Officer Ju said finally, breaking the silence. "But different. The design principles are similar to early Federation architecture, but more evolved." Captain Dai nodded slowly. "Run a full scan. I want to know if anyone's home." The scan results appeared on Lieutenant Kim's screen almost immediately. "Life signs detected, Captain. Hundreds of them. And they're human." Dai felt a chill run down his spine. "That can't be right. Check again." "I've run the scan 3 times," Kim replied, her voice hushed. "They're definitely human biosignatures." Captain Dai straightened his uniform and made a decision. "Open a communication channel." Kim tried several frequencies without success. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances as minutes passed without response. "Try the old emergency bands," Dai suggested. "If they're isolated, they might use older technology." After several more attempts, the view screen flickered. Static danced across the screen before resolving into a clear image. A human face appeared. A man perhaps in his 40s with features that could have belonged to any Federation citizen. He wore a uniform unlike anything in Terran service, simple but elegant, with unfamiliar insignia at the collar. "This is Commander Han of Station Homestead," the man said, his accent strange to Dai's ears. Not foreign exactly, but like hearing a familiar language spoken by someone who had learned it in isolation. "Identify yourselves and state your purpose in approaching our installation." The bridge crew froze. Captain Dai felt his heart racing, but kept his expression neutral. He stepped forward. "This is Captain Dai of the Terran Federation Scout Ship Horizon *. We are on a standard mapping mission." He paused, then added, "We didn't expect to find humans here." Commander Han's eyebrows rose slightly. His composed expression gave way to visible shock. "Terran Federation," he repeated, leaning closer to his screen. "Earth still exists." The question sent murmurs across the Horizon's * bridge. Dai raised a hand to quiet his crew. "Yes," Dai replied carefully. "Earth is the capital of the Federation. It's very much intact." Han turned away from the screen, speaking rapidly to someone outside the visual field. When he turned back, his expression was a mixture of suspicion and hope. "We have much to discuss, Captain. Our records indicate that Earth suffered catastrophic damage in the resource wars. This is unexpected news." Dai exchanged glances with his first officer. The resource wars had ended nearly 3 centuries ago. "Commander Han, with your permission, I'd like to bring the Horizon * in for docking. I believe we have much to learn from each other." Han seemed to consider this request carefully. "Granted, Captain. We'll transmit docking protocols." He paused. Be advised that our security measures are thorough. We've had to be cautious. Understood, Commander. We'll follow your guidance. As the transmission ended, the bridge erupted in excited conversation. Day raised his voice to be heard. Secure stations for docking approach. All senior officers will join me for first contact procedures. He turned to his first officer. And send a priority message to Federation Command. Tell them we found humans. Humans who don't know Earth survived whatever disaster they fled from. The Horizon moved slowly toward the enormous station. Up close, they could see repair marks and modifications to the original structure, signs of a civilization that had adapted and evolved in isolation. Look at those defense systems, Security Chief Rio noted, pointing to weapons emplacements along the station's hull, more advanced than ours in some respects. As they approached the docking bay, Captain Da watched the station grow larger in the viewport. Questions flooded his mind. Who were these people? How had they come here? Why did they believe Earth had been destroyed? The ship slipped into the massive docking bay. Through the viewport, they could see people gathering. Humans in unfamiliar uniforms, watching the Federation vessel with expressions ranging from wonder to suspicion. This is going to change everything, Navigator Park said quietly. Day nodded, adjusting his uniform one last time before heading to the airlock. Humanity just became bigger today, and I suspect our history books are about to be rewritten. The airlock cycled open. Captain Da led his officers forward to meet their long-lost human cousins, separated by centuries and light years, yet connected by their shared origins on a planet that one group had believed destroyed. He took a deep breath and stepped forward into history. Captain Da walked slowly through the vast archives of Station Homestead, his footsteps echoing in the high-ceilinged chamber. All around him, data crystals glowed softly in their storage units, each containing pieces of a history unknown to Earth. Chief Historian Sue led the way, her slender figure moving gracefully between the tall shelves. We have kept detailed records since the day we left Earth, she explained, her voice filled with quiet pride. Every generation adds to our history. Day nodded, trying to absorb the scale of what he was seeing. After the first contact with Commander Han, both sides had agreed to share information. The Federation team had been granted access to the station's historical archives, while their ship underwent repairs. Here, said Sue, stopping at a central console. She placed her palm on the scanner, and a holographic display sprang to life. This shows the journey of the New Dawn *. The display showed a massive colony ship leaving Earth orbit. Date stamps indicated a departure nearly 300 years earlier. The New Dawn was one of 5 major colony ships that left during the Resource Wars, Day said, recognizing the vessel design. Federation records show it was lost with all hands when it failed to reach its destination. Sue's expression remained composed, but her eyes betrayed a hint of sadness. Not lost, just redirected. She manipulated the controls, and the display showed the ship's journey away from its planned route. 6 months into the voyage, our communication systems were damaged in a solar flare. When the crew couldn't contact Earth, they received a final transmission before losing all contact. What was the transmission? Day asked. A news broadcast showing the escalation of the Resource Wars. Cities burning. Threats of nuclear weapons. She paused. Our ancestors believed they were witnessing the beginning of Earth's end. The display changed to show old footage, grainy images of conflict that Day recognized from history lessons. These were the darkest days before the Global Accord had ended the Resource Wars. With Earth seemingly doomed, the colony ship's leadership made a decision. Sue continued. They would find a new home and preserve humanity, no matter how far they had to travel. Day tried to imagine the weight of that decision, carrying what they believed to be the last hope of the human species. They traveled for 27 years before finding this star system, Sue explained. The first generation born on the ship never knew Earth except through stories and recordings. The hologram shifted to show the initial settlement, habitat domes on a small moon that later became the foundation of Station Homestead. And you never attempted to re-establish contact with Earth? Federation engineerly asked, joining them at the console. In the early years, yes, Sue replied. But our long-range communication equipment was limited. After 50 years, with no response, the attempts became less frequent. Eventually, Earth became more legend than reality to many of our people. Day tried to process the implications. While Earth had recovered from the resource wars and formed the Terran Federation, these humans had developed in complete isolation, believing themselves to be humanity's last survivors. If I may, Engineer Lee interrupted, pointing to another section of the archives. I'd like to learn more about your defensive technology. Sue nodded and led them to another area where technical schematics filled the displays. Lee's eyes widened as he studied the designs. These shield configurations are unlike anything in Federation systems, he said with professional admiration. The energy efficiency is remarkable. Necessity drove innovation, Sue explained. 70 years after settlement, we encountered the Krell. She pulled up images that made Day's blood run cold. The creatures displayed were unlike any alien species in Federation records, vaguely insectoid, but with an unsettling intelligence in their compound eyes. They attacked without warning or communication, Sue said. Our initial defenses were inadequate. We lost nearly a third of our population in the first encounter. Day's hand unconsciously moved to the weapon at his hip. The Federation has never encountered these Krell. Sue's expression darkened. You will, she replied grimly. They always find humans eventually. Something about our biology attracts them, like predators scenting prey across vast distances. Lee continued studying the defense schematics. These resonance-based shield systems, they're specifically designed to counter Krell weapons. Yes, Sue confirmed. Their weapons operate on unique frequency patterns. Once we understood the science behind them, we developed countermeasures. Each attack taught us more, though the lessons came at a terrible cost. Day thought of the Federation worlds. Dozens of human colonies spread across multiple systems, none with defenses designed to counter these Krell weapons. How often do they attack? He asked. They come in cycles. Sometimes decades pass between encounters. We've had peace for nearly 15 years now. Sue's voice lowered, but they always return. A station-wide announcement interrupted their conversation. Commander Han requesting Captain Day's presence for a meeting. As they left the archives, Day realized his view of the galaxy had fundamentally changed in just a few hours. Captain, Lee said quietly as they walked, if these Krell are real, and if they hunt humans specifically, then every Federation world is potentially at risk. Day finished the thought. And these people have the defensive technology we need. They passed a viewport, and Day paused to look out at the stars. The same stars that had guided both branches of humanity along very different paths. The Federation had expanded through peaceful exploration and diplomacy, encountering mostly benign or neutral alien species. These other humans had survived through innovation born of desperate necessity. Our paths diverged, Sue said, noting his contemplation. You built a vast federation. We built a fortress. And now those paths converge again, Day replied, perhaps at exactly the right time. As they continued toward the command center, Day wondered what other revelations awaited. These lost humans had preserved knowledge Earth had never needed to develop. But they had clearly paid a heavy price for that knowledge, a price the Federation might soon have to pay as well. The alarm blared through Station Homestead, its urgent tone cutting through the normal hum of operations. Captain Day was reviewing Federation protocols with Commander Han when the red warning lights began to flash. Proximity alert, Han said, his face instantly hardening. He moved to the command center without another word, with Day following close behind. The main control room was already filled with station personnel when they arrived. A large tactical display dominated the center, showing a formation of ships approaching from the outer system. Long-range sensors have detected multiple vessels entering the sector, announced Sensor Officer Gill, her fingers flying across her console. Energy signatures matched known Krell patterns. Commander Han's expression didn't change, but Day noticed how the other station officers exchanged grim looks. They had lived with this threat their entire lives. "How many?" Han asked simply. 17 vessels confirmed, possibly more behind them. "Largest Krell force we've encountered in station history." Da moved closer to the display, studying the approaching formation. "We need to contact my ship immediately. The Horizon needs to send an emergency signal to the Federation." Han nodded sharply. "Make it happen." Within hours, Captain Dai had transmitted all available data on the Krell to Federation Command. The response was immediate. Admiral Jin and a response fleet were already en route, having been dispatched after the initial contact with the lost human colony. 3 days of tense waiting followed. The station shifted to full battle readiness. Captain Dai watched as civilians moved to protected intersections while defense crews ran constant drills. The efficiency spoke of generations of practice. "Your people are well prepared," Dai observed as Han inspected a weapons array. "We've had centuries of practice," Han replied. "Your Federation hasn't." When Admiral Jin's fleet arrived, it brought both relief and new tension. 12 Federation warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, taking position near the station. The Admiral's flagship, the Dauntless dwarfed Captain Daz's scout ship. Admiral Jin was a decorated veteran of the border conflicts, with 30 years of service and a reputation for bold tactics. From the moment he stepped aboard Station Homestead, his skepticism was evident. "With all due respect, Commander," Jin said during their first meeting, "the Federation has encountered many hostile species. We have standard protocols for these situations." Han's response was measured. "Admiral, the Krell are unlike any species you've encountered. Standard protocols will get your ships destroyed." Jin remained unconvinced until the joint briefing in the station's Strategic Command Center. The room was filled with officers from both human groups. Federation personnel in their blue and gray uniforms on one side, station officers in their utilitarian garb on the other. The tactical display showed detailed scans of the approaching Krell fleet. "That's more firepower than we've ever faced," Admiral Jin admitted as the data scrolled across the screen. The confidence in his voice wavered for the first time. Commander Han nodded. "They hunt humans specifically. Your ship's arrival has drawn them in greater numbers than we've seen before. They sense a larger prize." Tactical Officer Jun stepped forward. He was younger than most of the station's senior staff, but the others deferred to him immediately. "Our historical encounters indicate that conventional weapons are ineffective against their shield technology," Jun explained, displaying analysis from previous battles. "Their hulls absorb energy from standard weapons, actually strengthening their defenses." A murmur ran through the Federation officers. Admiral Jin frowned. "Then how have you survived this long?" Engineer Min, a petite woman with intense eyes, activated another display. "We've developed specific countermeasures over generations of conflict." The screen showed modified weapon systems and shield configurations. "Their technology operates on unique resonance frequencies. Once we understood this, we adapted." She turned to face Engineer Lee from the Federation team. "With your permission, we've prepared modifications for your ship's weapon systems. They won't be as effective as our specialized equipment, but they'll penetrate Krell shields." Admiral Jin studied the proposed modifications. "How quickly can these be implemented?" "We've already prepared equipment for your flagship and 3 other vessels," Min replied. "The rest will take at least 12 hours. "We don't have 12 hours, Han said quietly. "The Krell will be in weapons range in 9. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Not all ships could be upgraded in time. The planning session that followed revealed deep differences in approach. Admiral Jin proposed deploying the Federation fleet in standard combat formation, using superior numbers to overwhelm the enemy. Commander Han advocated for targeted strikes against specific Krell vessels, using the station's specialized weapons to create openings for attack. Your approach leaves too many of your ships vulnerable, Han argued. And your approach leaves the station exposed, Jin countered. The Federation protects its own. The tension in the room grew as both sides defended their strategies. Captain Dai watched the division deepen. Two branches of humanity, reunited after centuries apart, now unable to agree on how to fight a common enemy. Enough, Dai said finally, stepping into the center of the room. All eyes turned to him. If we fail here, there may not be humans left to argue about who was right. The simple statement hung in the air. Dai turned to Admiral Jin. Sir, I've spent days studying their records of Krell encounters. Their experience is real, and their tactics have been refined through centuries of survival. He then faced Commander Han. And Commander, the Federation fleet offers resources you've never had before. Together, we have options neither side has alone. Dai moved to the tactical display. What if we combine approaches? The station's specialized weapons target the lead Krell vessels, creating gaps in their formation. Meanwhile, the upgraded Federation ships exploit those gaps, while the remaining fleet protects the station from flanking attacks. The room was silent as both sides considered the hybrid strategy. Slowly, Admiral Jin nodded. It could work. Unconventional, but potentially effective. Commander Han studied the display, then looked up at the Federation officers. We would need perfect coordination between our forces. Then let's create that coordination, Dai suggested. Joint tactical teams on each major vessel. Your expertise guiding our firepower. For the first time, the division in the room began to dissolve as officers from both sides gathered around the display, refining the combined strategy. Engineer Min and her Federation counterparts immediately began prioritizing weapon modifications. Tactical teams were formed, mixing personnel from both human groups. As the meeting disbanded and preparations accelerated, Captain Dai found himself standing between Admiral Jin and Commander Han at the viewport. In the distance, the first faint signs of the Krell fleet were visible. Tiny points of light moving inexorably toward humanity's reunited forces. 3 centuries apart, Han said quietly. Different paths, different strategies. But the same determination to survive, Jin added. The countdown to battle had begun. Captain Dai stood on the bridge of the Federation destroyer Sentinel *, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. He had volunteered to command one of the joint crew ships, with half his bridge officers from the station. The vessel had been hastily retrofitted with the resonance weapons developed by the other humans. Krell fleet approaching final jump point, announced Tactical Officer Jun. Unlike the other station officers, he spoke with little emotion, his focus entirely on the readouts before him. Admiral Jin's voice came through the comm system, addressing all ships in the combined fleet. All vessels maintain position. Remember the plan. Federation cruisers hold the line. Station vessels prepare for precision strikes. Dai looked out the viewport. The Federation ships formed an impressive wall of firepower, 12 warships arranged in standard defense formation. Behind them, Station Homestead loomed large, its weapons arrays fully powered. The smaller, more agile ships from the station had taken positions on the edges of the formation, ready to move quickly once battle began. 30 seconds to contact, reported Navigator Park. Dai felt the tension on the bridge. The Federation crew members had never faced the Krell. The station crew had never fought alongside such a large allied force. Everyone was stepping into the unknown. Dropping out of hyperspace, Jun called out. Multiple contacts. I count 23 Krell vessels. The view screen filled with the sight of the Krell fleet emerging from hyperspace. Their ships were unlike anything in Federation records, part mechanical, part biological, with hulls that seemed to pulse with inner light. Weapons bristled from organic-looking protrusions. They're bigger than our records indicated, said one of the station officers quietly. Admiral Jin's orders came through clearly. Hold formation. Let them make the first move. The Krell did not hesitate. Their lead ships accelerated toward the Federation line, energy building visibly at their weapon ports. Incoming fire, Jun shouted. The first volley from the Krell fleet lit up space like a storm. The Federation ship's shields flared bright under the assault. 3 smaller destroyers at the edge of the formation took direct hits, their shields failing immediately. Day watched in horror as the Resolute Asterisk, a ship similar to his own, broke apart under the Krell weapons fire. Emergency beacons flashed briefly before secondary explosions silenced them. The Resolute Asterisk, the Dauntless Asterisk, and the Peregrine Asterisk are gone, reported Communications Officer Cho, her voice shaking slightly. The Federation line wavered. 2 more ships took heavy damage, their shields failing. Their weapons are more advanced than our records showed, Jun said, hands flying over his console. They've evolved since our last encounter. On the main communications channel, Dai could hear the panic spreading through the Federation fleet. Admiral Jin's flagship took a glancing hit, briefly disrupting communications. This isn't working, Dai said, making a decision. Signal Commander Han. We need to implement the flanking maneuver now, not wait for the second phase. The message went out. Moments later, Commander Han's voice responded. Agreed, Captain. All station vessels, execute Pattern Sigma. Federation support ships, follow our lead. The smaller, nimbler ships from Station Homestead suddenly broke formation, accelerating at speeds the larger Federation vessels couldn't match. They moved like a school of fish, changing direction in perfect unison, confusing the Krell targeting systems. Taking this in, Day ordered his helm officer. The Sentinel broke from the main line, joining the station vessels in their approach. The Krell ships turned to track this new threat, but the station vessels were already weaving through their formation. At close range, they deployed their specialized weapons, devices that emitted precisely calibrated energy pulses that disrupted the Krell shields. Resonance weapons at full power, reported Engineer Min from the engineering section. Target the lead vessel. The Sentinel fired its modified weapons. The beam struck the nearest Krell ship, causing no visible damage at first. Then the alien vessel's shields began to flicker and warp. Their shield frequency is destabilizing, Jun reported with the first hint of excitement in his voice. Commander Han's voice came through the comm. All ships report successful shield disruption. Federation fleet, targets are vulnerable. Admiral Jin seized the moment. All Federation vessels, concentrate fire on the marked targets. Now, the remaining Federation warships unleashed their full arsenal. Without their specialized shields, the Krell ships proved surprisingly vulnerable. 2 of the largest alien vessels erupted in silent explosions. The battle shifted. The station vessels continued their darting attacks, temporarily weakening Krell defenses while the heavier Federation ships delivered devastating blows. Each side compensated for the other's weaknesses, creating a fighting force unlike anything either human faction had fielded before. But the Krell adapted quickly. Their ships began to change formation, clustering together to provide overlapping shield coverage. They're learning, Commander Han warned over the comm. Changing to Assault Pattern Delta. The fighting intensified. Hours passed as the human fleet engaged in a deadly dance with the alien invaders. Ships on both sides were damaged or destroyed. Emergency beacons dotted the battlefield, some from escape pods launched from dying vessels. The Sentinel shuddered as a Krell beam grazed their port side. Shields at 40%, reported Engineer Min. We can't take another direct hit. Day studied the tactical display. The battle had been raging for nearly 14 hours. Crew members had rotated positions, fatigue setting in despite stimulants and adrenaline. 5 more Federation ships had been lost. 7 of the station's vessels were destroyed or disabled. But the Krell had suffered worse. Over half their fleet was destroyed, and their formation had broken down into smaller groups fighting desperately. The Krell flagship is changing position, Jun reported. They appear to be preparing to retreat. Admiral Jin's voice came through, weak but determined. We can't let them escape. They'll return with reinforcements. Agreed, Commander Han responded. All remaining vessels form on the Sentinel *. Captain Day, take the lead. Day felt the weight of the moment. All ships prepare for final assault. Target the Krell flagship with everything we have left. The human ships gathered their remaining strength, forming a spearhead with the Sentinel * at its tip. The Krell flagship loomed ahead, a massive vessel twice the size of any other in their fleet. Weapons ready, Jun reported. Resonance frequencies calibrated for maximum disruption. All ships, fire on my mark, Day ordered. He paused, watching as the targeting solutions aligned perfectly. Fire. The combined firepower of the human fleet struck the Krell flagship simultaneously. Its shields flared brightly, then collapsed. The resonance weapons created cascading failures throughout its systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the massive vessel began to break apart, energy building within its core. All ships, pull back, Dai shouted. It's going critical. The human vessels retreated as the Krell flagship detonated in a brilliant burst of blue-green energy. The explosion rippled outward, catching 2 human ships too damaged to move quickly enough. The remaining Krell vessels, seeing their flagship destroyed, began jumping to hyperspace, abandoning the battle. As the last enemy ship disappeared, a profound silence fell over the comm channels. After 18 hours of constant battle, the sudden quiet was almost shocking. Admiral Jin's voice, tired but clear, broke the silence. To all ships and Station Homestead, the enemy has retreated. Commander Han added simply, humanity stands. The cost had been devastating. Of the original 12 Federation warships, only 5 remained operational. Half of Station Homestead's defensive fleet was gone. Rescue operations began immediately, recovery vessels searching for survivors among the debris field. On the bridge of the Sentinel *, Captain Dai slumped in his command chair. Federation and station crew members worked side by side, no longer separated by centuries of divergent history. In the fire of battle, they had become one crew, one people. Begin rescue operations, Day ordered quietly. Priority to life pods. As the Sentinel * moved through the battlefield, Day stared out at the wreckage. The price of victory. Federation and station ships alike had sacrificed everything. Their different tactics, technologies, and traditions had merged into something new, something that had saved humanity from extinction. The battle was over. Now came the harder part, building a shared future from the ashes of sacrifice. The earth shimmered blue and green through the viewport of the transport ship. Captain Dai watched as Ambassador Han pressed his hand against the clear barrier, his eyes wide with wonder. For Han and the 50 representatives from Station Homestead, this was more than a diplomatic visit. It was a homecoming 3 centuries in the making. It looks just like the images in our archives, Han whispered, but more alive somehow. The transport ship began its descent through Earth's atmosphere. Many of the other humans gasped as the clouds parted to reveal vast oceans and continents below. Some wept quietly. Their ancestors had left this world believing it doomed, carrying the burden of what they thought was humanity's last hope. Now, they were returning to find Earth not only survived but thrived. 6 months had passed since the Krell battle. The victory had come at great cost, but it had united the 2 branches of humanity in purpose. The Federation Council had immediately extended formal recognition to the people of Station Homestead. The Unification Treaty was drafted within weeks. As the ship landed at the ceremonial grounds on the Pacific coast, Captain Da noticed Ambassador Han taking deep breaths. "The air smells different than our recycled systems," Han explained. "Richer." The delegation stepped onto Earth soil. Some knelt to touch the ground. Others looked up at the open sky, a vastness they had only experienced through old recordings. Station Homestead had been their entire world for generations. Federation officials waited at the ceremony site, an open-air amphitheater overlooking the ocean. The rising sun cast golden light across the water. Thousands of citizens from around Earth had gathered to witness the historic moment. "My great-grandmother used to tell stories about Earth's oceans," Han said quietly as he and Dai walked toward the stage. "She learned them from her grandmother, who was born on the colony ship. I never thought I'd see them myself." Day smiled. "And now your children will know both worlds." The ceremony began with traditional music from both cultures. The Federation Orchestra played ancient Earth compositions, while musicians from Station Homestead performed pieces evolved during their centuries of isolation. Similar in structure, but with unique variations that highlighted their divergent paths. President Hume stepped forward to address the gathering. Her voice carried across the silent crowd. "Today, we witnessed the reunion of family long thought lost. The people of Earth and the people of Station Homestead, separate branches of the same human tree. We developed apart, but remained human at our core." She turned to face the visitors directly. "Your ancestors left Earth believing they carried humanity's last hope among the stars. They fulfilled that mission with courage and determination. Now that same courage has helped protect all humanity from a threat we on Earth never knew existed." The technology exchange had already begun. Federation engineers had visited Station Homestead, marveling at the defensive systems developed through centuries of conflict with the Krell. Federation shipyards were now incorporating these advanced designs into new vessels. In return, the people of Station Homestead gained access to the vast resources and infrastructure of the Federation. Medical advances, agricultural techniques, and the safety of belonging to a larger human community. Admiral Jin, his arm still in a healing sling from the battle, stepped forward to present the first Joint Military Commission, a unified fleet command structure that would oversee the integration of both human forces. "The Krell will return," he stated plainly. "But next time, humanity will be ready, together." The formal signing of the Unification Treaty took place as the sun reached its highest point. Ambassador Han and President Hume pressed their thumbs to the document simultaneously, their genetic signatures binding the agreement as cameras broadcasted the moment across human space. As the formal proceedings concluded, guests mingled on the grounds. Children from Earth schools presented handmade gifts to the visitors. Scientists from both societies huddled in excited conversation, comparing notes on technologies developed along different paths. Engineer Min, now heading the Joint Defense Research Program, demonstrated a miniature version of the resonance shield to a group of Federation officials. "With your resources and our specialized knowledge, we can deploy this technology to every human world within 2 years." As evening approached, Captain Dai found Ambassador Han standing alone at the edge of the cliff overlooking the ocean. The setting sun painted the water in shades of orange and gold. "Everything all right?" Dai asked, joining him. Han nodded slowly. "I was just thinking about how different history might have been if the New Dawn had maintained contact with Earth, if we'd known you survived the resource wars. We might never have developed the technologies needed to defeat the Krell," Dad pointed out. "Your isolation forced innovation we never needed, and your expansion gave humanity the numbers and resources we lacked." Han smiled. "Perhaps the universe has its own wisdom." The two men stood in comfortable silence as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Behind them, Federation officials and Station Homestead representatives continued to forge new bonds. Scientists exchanging theories, military officers comparing tactics, families sharing stories of their separate histories. "Our ancestors would be proud," Han said finally, watching the last rays of sunlight reflect off the ocean. "Not just of our reunion," Day replied, "but of how both branches of humanity survived against impossible odds." As darkness fell, lights illuminated the ceremony grounds. Music began again, this time a new composition created jointly by musicians from Earth and Station Homestead. The melody wove together themes from both traditions into something entirely new. Ambassador Han turned from the ocean view, facing the gathering. "Shall we join them, Captain? I believe we have a future to plan." Captain Da nodded, and the two walked back toward the celebration. Children from Earth and the first family groups from Station Homestead played together under the stars, the first generation who would grow up knowing the complete human story. In orbit above, Joint Federation Homestead patrols maintained watch. The threat of the Krell remained, but for the first time, humanity faced that threat unified. Shipyards throughout human space were already constructing vessels with combined technologies. Research teams worked to improve defensive systems. Military strategists developed new tactics based on the lessons of the recent battle. As Captain Da looked up at the stars appearing in the twilight sky, he thought of all the human worlds now connected again after centuries apart. The separation that had seemed like tragedy had become salvation. Two paths diverging, only to converge again when most needed. To the future, he said, raising his glass in a toast. To humanity, Ambassador Han replied. All of us. The end.